I'd just given blood earlier in the day. I'd studied up on mushrooms. I thought it had been enough, via word of mouth. I don't discredit what people say, but I do think some people have no idea what they're talking about. As this was going to be my first psychedelic experience ever, I knew very little. I knew that I would be fucked up and seeing some stuff and overall happy. Wow, how ignorant I was. I began the evening alone, eating 1/16 an ounce all at once, chewing and eventually swallowing. I then met up with some friends on the other side of the college campus as we had decided to go search for a party. By the way, this was at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, CA. Anyway, as nothing was happening with the shrooms after 1/2 hour, I felt they weren't working. Like I hadn't eaten enough. So, I drugged my friends, who had no experience with shrooms at all or anything else psychedelic for that matter, back to my dorm room and I ate the rest of the 1/8 of an ounce. I didn't feel anything still until we arrived at 2 huge parties, one at a house on one side of the street and one at a house on the opposite side, with people spilling into the streets. It was disorienting. It all hit me at once. I began seeing things as my 2 friends and I walked up to the house on the right. I stopped, turned around and watched in disbelief as I saw approximately 18 people who I'd seen and or knew in my residence hall walk past me on the street in a single file line and just as quickly disappear. I hopelessly waved my hand at every other person, attempting to say hi. One of my friends tapped me on the shoulder and asked what the fuck I was doing. I knew it was time for me to go. So one of my friends walked me home and I was explaining these immense powers I was feeling and seeing all around me. He had no clue what was happening but was somewhat fascinated by my descriptions. We walked by the school pool and gym and I could feel the energy from some generator inside the building sending waves through me. We then came to a dirt area which was roped off but we began to walk onto it. I could see tiny little red dots just inside this section. They were all glowing. My friend, of course, could not see this. We then came upon a sign at the edge of the roped-off area that read, "Grass seeding in progress, keep off." This amazed me. I could actually see the invisible seeds. Okay, I'm going on and on and on. Okay, so we depart, my friend and I, once we get to the residence hall. I go to my room to try and chill out. Doesn't work. So I sit on my bed. And I sit on my bed. And sit. I feel myself changing. I feel as though I'm turning into a female, with a female's thoughts and wording and everything. This freaks me out. I decide to go to bed. The lights go out and I quickly slide onto my bed, shuffling off slowly into the underworld. Flames flicker outside my window and I jump out of bed. Howls and screams come from the fire atop the campus buildings. They cry for me to join them. I lay back down on my bed, almost feeling the heat from the flames. I start to shake. Oh my god. I OD'd. I thought I died and was going to hell. I contemplated calling my parents to tell them I died. I did this for about 5 minutes then decided I couldn't work the phone. I then decided it would be quicker to ask my neighbors in the rooms next to me if I was dead. I turned on the light and sat on my bed for around 15 minutes, hearing others in the residence hall whispering about me through the walls. They were all saying terrible things about me and how funny it was I thought I'd turned into a girl. I finally remembered that Dave, my friend, had told me after hearing I was going to shroom that if anything happened or if I just wanted to I could just stop by and see him. Boy, that sounded like a good idea. Company. So it took me around 20 minutes to walk down the hall to his room. His room was approximately a 10 to 15 second walk away normally. The mirror in the center of the hallway took up 15 of those minutes. So thank God Dave was there. He was listening to some country music, which I usually hate, but when I heard it, it was really great. Something other than my thoughts to think about. I asked him for approximately 5 minutes over and over again if I had died. As he tried to convince me I hadn't, his face began to change into a mouse and then the devil. When I told him this he looked pissed, then he gave me a look of understanding. "You're so lucky this is your first trip. I wish I could go back. Tell you what, I'll be your guide for the evening." So he was. I felt like he was some kind of god leading me through the waves of light, sound, and reason. He took me for a journey I will never forget. He took me away from hell and into a heaven on earth. We went outside and I marveled at breathing trees and flowers emitting rays of red, blue, and gold in the middle of the night. Needless to say it was a long night. There is a point to me explaining this trip other than the fact that whenever I explain it over again by word of mouth or otherwise, I almost feel like I'm partially tripping again. I learned a number of lessons. From now on I will do my research first, plan my activities, and make sure I hang out with somebody experienced. I also won't take too much again.